When life changes in an instant, you deserve support from a trusted advocate. With Chris Parks Law, navigate recovery knowing experienced professionals are on your side. Secure your consultation today. Let us fight for your justice.
Hi folks, thanks for joining us today. My name is Dave Jooste. I am the owner of Cybertech Connection. We are an MSP that helps folks like Chris Parks, and that is who I want to introduce to you today. For those of you who don't know or who are joining this session right now through LinkedIn Live, if you do have a question at any point in time during this brief interview, reach out and let's ask Chris some questions. But before we go any further, let's welcome Chris and let's have a chat with Chris. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate you having me.
All right, so let's jump into this. I know Chris Parks. We've been working with you for a long time now, right?
Yes.
But a lot of people don't understand what a personal injury or motor vehicle accident lawyer actually is or does, or what's the first thing they should do in those situations. So at a very, very high level, give us a bit of a background about the company that we can go into further questions, because I have a lot of questions for you, Chris.
Okay. Well, so I'll just give you an example, Dave. It's a beautiful day and you're listening to music on the radio and you're going to do an errand, and from out of nowhere you get whacked by another driver. What I want to talk to you about today is what do you do right then, and answer any questions people have about what are you supposed to do next. I mean, you just got hit, you're in an accident, and one minute everything's fine, and the next minute your world has changed. So what do you do?
Yeah, Chris. So that's a really big question, right? Is what do you do? Because you're not wrong. Is whether you have kids in the car or whether you're just solo or you hit somebody else with kids, and we're not even talking fatalities here, but what is the really first thing that someone should do? And if you can answer if you're the person who actually hit someone, and then maybe answer as if you're the person that was hit, is there a difference there?
There is a big difference, but let me try to answer it in a way that somebody will remember that's listening to this podcast.
Sure.
First thing is, this is an unusual situation, right? Your world was one way, and then in a matter of seconds, everything just changed. You just got hit. Stay calm. That's the number one thing you need to do. No, seriously, because a lot of people freak out. We listen to dash cams a lot in the cases that we're investigating. You'd be surprised how upsetting it can be. So if you can stay calm, and the very first thing you need to do is kind of assess yourself. I mean, you're the most important part of this, and you need to know, are you injured? And most people in an accident are going to have adrenaline, and we all try to tough it out, and most people are going to try to minimize their injuries. So you really need to, as quickly as you can, kind of take a breath, figure out if you're okay. And then immediately after that, you need to find out if the other people in the accident are okay.
I don't know. Maybe you can help me out, Jack, Chris, but I hear it so many times, and I've never been in a motor vehicle accident where I've needed an attorney, right? But I hear it all the time that when someone's in an accident, they always go, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Is that right?
It is. Some people just, as a manner of speaking, apologize in a conversational way, and that's right. And it can be a big problem if you're saying that to someone and you weren't at fault. It can also be a big advantage if someone's saying that to you and they were at fault, because the excited utterances is the technical way of saying it in a court of law. When you're talking about evidence, they can come in as evidence, even though it was an out-of-court statement. It's an excited utterance, which is an exception to the hearsay rule. So again, you figure out if you're okay, figure out if the other person's okay, and then my advice, almost to everybody, is after that you need to call the police, because I think it's a good idea to have the police come out and document what happened, no matter where you are and no matter the size of the accident. And what we were just talking about, saying, oh, I'm so sorry. It's better to have a police officer write up a report that's going to document, should you be sorry or should the other person be sorry? Who was at fault?
Let's go back quickly. You said there's and correct me if I'm wrong here, you said there was an exception to hearsay. What is
Yes.
that exactly?
Yeah, so if you watch TV and it's a courtroom battle and someone says objection, hearsay, uh, all it is if you're going to court, everybody's trying to be reasonable and honest, and you've got to have some rules about what can come into court as evidence and what can't. And most of what happens in a courtroom is people take a witness stand and they tell their side of the story. And the rule is that an out of court statement used to prove the fact of the matter asserted isn't admissible if the person's available to make that statement in court. So rather than you saying, oh, she ran up to me and said she was sorry right after this accident, so I think she's at fault. If it wasn't for this excited utterance exception, it may be fairer for the judge to say, well, let's just put her on the stand and hear it from her. And you can ask her the question. So you ask her the question, was it your fault? And she's like, no.
Okay, so I hear what you're saying. I by no means understand all of that, but that's why you're the attorney and I'm the tech guy, right?
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah,
I
we're
think
getting in the weeds. I didn't mean to do that. Sorry, but
no,
go ahead,
it's
Dave.
great, right? I mean, it's if someone takes something away today, is like I never knew that. I never knew that could even be a thing, and that is what I wanted to get from you today. Is like let's get down and deep and figure out what is really the first thing someone should do, because everyone says do this or do that, but does it really count and does it really matter? And I think we just got a very valid answer here.
Yeah. Well, again, so let's go to the next step. You're staying calm. You're checking on the other people there. Let's
Sure.
say that you just got a call from your wife or your daughter who's driving the family car, and the first thing out of their mouth, I just got in an accident. Let me give you a tip there too. Do not say, as the person getting that phone call, "Oh my God, what do you mean you got in an accident? Uh, what happened? Whose fault was it?" That again, listening to a recording done
Sure.
in a car, you sound like a jerk. The first question you should ask getting that call, are you okay? That is absolutely the thing to do after an accident. Let's figure out what's happened, because these are usually big machines abruptly being hit or stopped or moved. Sometimes a vehicle's totaled. Sometimes people walk away, no problem. But other times they walk away and they have injuries for the rest of their life. So stay calm, assess the situation, try to call the police to get them out there, really call an ambulance first. Most people that get in an accident tell me that right after the accident, there was a car that was driving through the intersection and someone said, hey, I can't stop, but I called 911. So do that, get the wheels in motion as far as getting people help if they need help.
Okay, great. I want to ask you a question based on something you just said. Is you said that if you're receiving that phone call and it's your daughter, son, brother, whoever it is, right? And they say, I've just been hit, and you say, don't be that jerk, as you say, is why do you think, in your experience, people don't do that? Why is it always, what do you mean? Or why did you get into why is that?
Because they're the people you love and you live with and you're around all the time. And you forget to be empathetic sometimes. And instead, you're pissed that your daughter just, wrecked the family car. That's, you know, most of us, are spending our lives at work. We're trying to
Yep.
earn a living. We think financially, and we're in that zone when we get this call. I've just been in an accident. You need to switch over immediately, and everyone does, to are you okay? Because these are usually violent accidents. I'm not really a property lawyer. It doesn't matter that the car just got broke. I'm an
Yeah.
injury lawyer, and everyone you see on TV is an injury lawyer. That's where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, in these cases, is when the dollars start being sussed out. What's it going to take for
And
your back or your neck
that's
to get better?
why I was asking that question. So those folks who are so angry, what does that mean in the courtroom? Does that give a completely different perspective in the courtroom to the person in the accident?
It does. Let's go back to being the person that just got hit. And
Yeah.
again, you're minding your own business. It wasn't your fault. Someone just whacked you in an intersection, which is where most accidents happen, actually.
Okay.
Don't be the jerk. Get out. Look, yes, someone just hit you. They just made a huge mistake. most of the time. I mean, very rarely is someone intentionally hitting you in a vehicle. But don't be the jerk. Be reasonable. Try to stay calm. Assess the other person. If they're being the jerk, let them. Just ignore them. But
Okay.
it's sort of like being in a fight. You need to stay
Yeah.
calm and you need to keep your wits about you.
Okay, great. So let's move on from here for a second. So we've got that. So I'm in an accident. Doesn't have to be a car accident. I'm in an accident. I'm staying calm. Got the police involved. Everything's taken care of. I've called you and said, Chris, I have this problem. What do I do? You advise me. I know one of the things you always say is at least just go get seen by the doctor. So we get past that. All right. This question I'm going to ask you is a bit direct. Why should someone call you and not somebody else?
Well, they should call me because I've been doing this for 38 years. I've had thousands of cases and thousands of clients, and I have experience. But if they have somebody else that they trust and know, they should call them. But the truth of the matter is, getting a little advice right away is a really good idea. And if the one piece of advice I would say is, you just went over the scenario, but what we left out was, you're on that phone, take some pictures. That's going to be really important going
Okay.
forward in the case. The location of the cars in the street is important, and it just goes on from there. But if you can take pictures of the car, of the damage to the car, of street signs, whatever you can to kind of orient things, that's important. But as far as calling me, if you call me, you're going to need to know how to get in touch with me. So I would tell you, if you're listening to us right now, put my name in your phone, Chris Parks, and the number that you should put in there is on the screen, but it's 720-805-1193. That's not just a sales pitch. Here's why I'm giving you that. Put in the notes lawyer or car accident or wreck or attorney, whatever you want. If you get a call today or next week, or you're at the gym and you meet somebody and they're like, man, I got in this car accident and I've been talking to this insurance adjuster and he is such a jerk. I don't even understand what he's talking about. Just give them my number and have them call me. I'll answer their questions free of charge. And I do this all the time. That's kind of part of our pitch at our office is we answer questions all the time for people. And they're simple questions most of the time, but sometimes they're more complicated. But be happy to talk to you. So that's why the proposition is there's nothing to lose. You could call me and I can answer your questions if you have any.
I think that's really important to note because someone who is in an injury, motor vehicle accident, work injury, whatever it is besides for worrying about the injury, now they need to worry about all the money that's going to need it to actually get a lawyer. And what you're saying is that is not true. You're saying you don't need to have a retainer or a consultation fee to actually just start getting help, right? You're saying, let us just help you. And whatever happens after that is another discussion for another day. That's about right, correct?
That's exactly right, Dave. I mean, it's, in my business, it really is an advice business, and it begins with an accident, but there's a lot of things that happen in the time between an accident and going to trial and getting
Yeah.
something resolved. So, I'm talking to people all the time. I bet you 9 out of the 10 calls I have in a day are with people I'm not representing that have questions or trying to help them find a lawyer. And that goes for, a car wreck, that goes for, a fatality, a truck wreck, slip and fall, an
Sure.
explosion at work. I mean, if your house gets blown up in a gas explosion, I have worked on that case. I've actually worked both sides of it. I've defended a gas company that caused an explosion. Ultimately, we settled the case, so I can say it that way. But and I've worked on the other side where I've represented the people who were in that house or had loved ones in the house and
Sure.
didn't know about it. So any type of accident where there might be a lawsuit, that's the kind of case that a personal injury lawyer handles, and that's what I do.
Folks, so if you are listening now, go have a look at Chris Parks' website down below. If you are in that situation where you do need just someone to speak to and give you some advice, now I know that the two ladies that work with Chris Parks, they're amazing. They are full of information. So if you need to speak to someone and just get some direction, this is the place you want to go. Chris, we're going to end off here in a second, but before we do end, do you have any closing comments for anyone who's watching now or in the future?
Honestly, it might seem kind of impossible, right? Why would this guy talk to me for free?
Sure.
And the answer is because not everybody needs a lawyer, but everybody needs to know what to do after an accident. So if I talk to people for free, they're going to, recommend me to other people, and that's how I get most of our calls. And I like doing it. It doesn't take me anything other than 5 or 10 minutes of a conversation. And people that do need a lawyer, that really need a lawyer, end up hiring me a lot of times. Or if I think they should go somewhere else, I recommend someone else for them to go to. But I like what I do. 38 years of doing this, and I'm still doing it. I intend to do it for a long time. There's a lot of things that you're not going to understand if you're talking to an insurance adjuster. They're going to toss out words or initials, and they're going to talk over you, and they're going to try to convince you to resolve a case, oftentimes for less than you should resolve it for. And why should you just be stuck if there's a resource out there? And it's not just me. A lot of personal injury lawyers will do this for free. But I definitely will do it. And so, if you're listening to me, write my name down in your phone and put the number. Give me a call if you need to talk to someone.
Thanks, Chris. So, folks, you heard it. And if you didn't believe it, now you've heard it directly from an attorney who's been in the industry for 30 odd years. And he is extending his arm to you. If you need help, just reach out. That's all you need to do. And whatever happens, that's between you and them. But Chris, thank you so much for the time. Thank you so much for your information and your insight. I know we're going to be speaking more in the months to come. But I wish you all the best, and I hope you have a fantastic weekend coming up.
Okay. Hey, David, just one last thing, and
Sure.
you're going to hate me for doing this, but I want to tell everybody listening, you've been my tech guy now for 5 or 6 years. And folks, Dave's fantastic. I literally, how you don't want anyone to look in your computer, right? So who are you going to hire? I endorse Dave wholeheartedly. There's nobody better. And I appreciate it, Dave. I've had tech people for 38 years. And by far and away, you're the best person that's ever worked on our computers at the office.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate those kind words. And yeah, if someone needs tech, reach out to us as well. But right now I think you're the highlight of the show, Chris, because you're the one on stage here, not me.
I know, Dave, but I appreciate you. I really do.
All right, Chris, thanks very much. You have an awesome weekend.
You too. See ya.
Bye-bye.